Welcome to Dateline, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. As a dad of grown kids out on their own, I felt the agony of the parents in tonight's story. That call, the dreaded call that comes in the middle of the night that every parent fears. In this case, their beautiful young daughter dead, killed by a hit-and-run driver, they were told. But to find out what really happened, they soon found themselves on a road of their own, one full of twists and turns that led to a place darker than they could have ever imagined. Here's Dennis Murphy.
The yellow buses pulled up. As the grade schoolers headed for their classrooms, the principal inside was calling an unexpected meeting of the teachers in his office. It was about Mrs. Abshire, the pretty young kindergarten teacher. He had dreadful news to share.
He said, well, there's no easy way to tell you this. And then he said, Justine was killed last night. She was hit by hit and run. And there was a silence.
Fellow kindergarten teacher Pat Ammons could not believe what she was hearing about her friend Justine Abshire, the newlywed who taught one door away. Kathleen Whitley, another fellow kindergarten teacher, was devastated.
I was just shocked, just in disbelief that she was gone. She was my best friend. I mean, she was my kindred spirit. We were the same person.
27-year-old Justine had married her longtime boyfriend Eric just that spring. She loved being a teacher, and by all accounts, the little kids in her classroom loved her back.
She was a very darling teacher. She was the kind of teacher that you would want for your own child.
But on that November morning, the stunned teachers had few details. It seemed Justine had been out driving after midnight and her car had broken down. She was apparently struck by a vehicle as she walked down a dark country road in the rural county where she and her husband lived, north of Charlottesville, Virginia.
I hear something kicking my screen door horn, help, help.
Amber Lamb had been up late at her grandmother's when she heard a ruckus at the door. A stranger, a man, was asking her to call 911.
Orange County 911, where's your emergency?
This man just came out to my door and said his wife, he thinks she just got hit by a car.
Amber followed the man, Eric Abshire, into the chill night. She watched as he fell to the blacktop and embraced the body of the young woman sprawled there.
He was laying over top of her.
The 5-month marriage of Eric and Justine Abshire ended with that embrace, the husband weeping, his bride clearly gone. They'd barely had time to make a scratch on a life together. They had a modest little house. He was working on getting a construction business going while she taught at the grade school. They told friends they were looking forward to taking a delayed honeymoon over the upcoming holidays. But the cruise, like everything else for them, was now never going to happen. It was just after 2 in the morning when Virginia State Trooper Ben Hobbs was awakened at his home.
I got a telephone call from my dispatch saying, we've got a motor vehicle crash, possible fatality.
He raced to the scene to join the first responders and the county cops.
I'm talking to the deputy. I said, okay, well, where's my vehicle at that struck the person that's laying in the road? The deputy looks at me and says, well, I guess your dispatch didn't tell you. This is probably going to be a hit and run. We don't have a vehicle.
For you as the investigator, this is a long night ahead of you.
It's going to be a very long night.
You get a victim and no vehicle.
Exactly. So then I begin to look at the scene, look at what I have, what I don't have.
One of the first things he saw was the devastated husband.
As I approached, he was knelt down beside Justine, crying. He was very distraught, upset, seemed very concerned about his wife laying in the road.
It was up to Trooper Hobbs to gather what he could at the scene to help identify the driver who'd struck and killed this young woman and kept on going. It wasn't going to be easy.
Nobody tried to stop. You know, if they saw this lady at the last minute, why didn't they slam on the brakes?
As the troopers' emergency flashers stabbed at the darkness, a phone was ringing at a home in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
It's just like your whole world just caves in on you. It's like a black hole.
Justine's dad, Stephen Swartz, and her mom, Heidi, were getting one of those awful calls in the middle of the night. A voice telling them their daughter was lying dead on a backcountry road in Virginia.
It's completely devastating. The worst thing that you can imagine. This kind of thing parents dread.
I remember him putting the phone down and saying, "It's Justine, she's dead." And just, you know, there's no way to describe that feeling.
Steve and Heidi called their daughter Lauren, living in Philadelphia. She was younger than Justine by 2 years, sisters who'd always been inseparable.
I remember just saying, no, 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 over and over. I've turned into a puddle on the floor. You can't stand. You get these pangs in your gut, and you can't breathe.
In the pre-dawn hours, the family made a plan to meet at the airport in Charlottesville.
The fact that she's dead is, of course, it seems impossible. But at that moment, you think, no, this can't make sense.
Back at what was now a crime scene in Virginia, Trooper Hobbs was trying to figure out the sequence of events as to how this young woman came to be dead in the road. The husband told the trooper that after his wife called him to tell him she was broken down by the side of the road, he hopped on his motorcycle to go help her.
He's coming down the road, comes up on her, stops. He told me he got out, cradled her in his arms.
Justine's car, a Mustang, was discovered parked by the side of the road about a distance of 2 football fields from where her body was found.
It was a wooded area, so unlit highway, unmarked road, back road in the middle of nowhere.
The investigators wondered why she'd even leave the safety of her car when help was on the way.
She'd left behind her purse.
She left behind her purse.
She'd left behind a nice warm coat.
Nice warm coat.
Flashlight?
Flashlight was actually in the glove box. I had fresh batteries still in it.
Had a routine auto malfunction turned suddenly crazy? Was Justine, in her last moments, being pursued, fleeing an attacker? Trooper Hobbs' gut told him things were not adding up.
The scene was telling me that something wasn't right.
A scene, a set of lives and families it would take years to untangle. The mystery of the kindergarten teacher's puzzling death had only just begun.
When we come back, investigators troubled by what they didn't find.
No tire marks on the road, no broken glass, no broken plastic from headlights.
And you almost always find that kind of debris.
Yes, sir.
When Shattered continues.